Okay, so I know I've made a video about church before, but um, I had to make another one. So, a friend of mine is a member of this particular church, and I guess they have some type of Bible study, choir rehearsal, whatever they do during the week. And after all of that was done last night, the pastor of the church told her he needed to talk to her, and he basically asked her to leave the church. So the reason he asked her to leave the church is because she had been dating one of these deacons at the church. So this deacon went to the pastor, told him that he was no longer interested in dating her, and she was making him uncomfortable, and that either he would leave the church or she would leave the church. So they asked her to leave. Let me tell you something. I'm not a Bible toter. I was born into church. I went to church so much when I was younger that it just no, it's a no for me. But when the pastor would have pulled me to the side and said, "Well, you making Deacon such and such uncomfortable, we're gonna have to ask you not to return to the church where I'm a member, where I've been paying my tithes, where I've been, being a member of whatever committees you guys have, just giving my all to the church." Excuse my language. I would have showed my whole ass. And the reason I would have done that is because, are you for real? Because, you know, he and I aren't dating anymore, and he wants to move on to the next thing in church, so he doesn't want me around. So now you gonna ask me to leave? And I get that you're the pastor of the church, but isn't there somebody above you that makes these rules? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you just ask somebody just to leave the church because this person says that, well, Sister Barbara is making me uncomfortable? Listen here. Um, I would have acted a whole fool. Let me tell you why. People don't go to church for that. Like, there's nothing wrong with dating people that you go to church with because ultimately you're looking to get married or whatever. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But where I draw the line is if things don't work out between me and Deacon, whoever, now you want me to leave because he tells you that he's uncomfortable, and it's not that he's uncomfortable. He just wants to date somebody else, and he doesn't want me, around or maybe feeling a certain type of way. If that's the case, you shouldn't be dating multiple people at church. For me, I don't like that's just doing too much. Like, I'm a free spirit in a sense, you know what I'm saying? I'm not interested in I would have a hard time being a member of the church and dating somebody. And I know people do it all the time, and I'm not judging. You know what I'm saying? But for me, because my thought process is, what happens when it goes bad? You know, when you know when I want to get up and do my testimony at church or whatever, and you looking at me sideways, I'm looking at you, or my heart is broken. I always think about stuff like that. So, like, I try to not to date in my inner circle like that. Like, when I date somebody, we don't do the same kind of work. We are just completely, like, not in the same. We don't run in the same circle. You know what I'm saying? Because of situations like this. But I just think that this pastor is completely out of line. I think that he just kind of heard this deacon side of the story and just ran with that. He didn't come to her and say, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And another thing, why is the pastor getting in the middle of this anyway? Why wouldn't he just say, "I'm sorry, she's a member of the church. She hasn't done anything to the church. She's a vital part of this ministry. I can't do that. So you're gonna have to put your personal feelings in." Why did you have to do that? She called me and just upset. What is she gonna do? I've been a member of this church for 9 years. Now they want me to leave. And I'm a little unchristian. The little advice I gave her, I won't repeat in the video because it's unchristlike. You know what I'm saying? And I meant every word of it. Like, this is just so stupid. Like, as a pastor, a reverend, a priest, a man in a cloth, you should have made some better decisions with this situation. You should have sat that deacon down and said, "Hey, this is your mess. You're going to have to clear it up. I'm not asking anybody to leave the church. She hasn't done anything to be thrown out of the church." Why I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, people have to take accountability. And, you know, whatever they broke up for, is whatever they broke up for. You should be adult enough to still be able to come to church once a week and, get the word and continue on. You know what I'm saying? She does not care if he dates somebody else. I think it's more so him. You know what I'm saying? Like when somebody's wrong or if they're doing something that they're not supposed to, you know what I'm saying? They don't want to feel that way because you kind of looking and watching. And I think the real issue here is he didn't want her looking and watching because he wants to move on to this new lady at the church or whatever. But like she said, they can do whatever they want to do. I've been a member of this church for 9 years. Let me tell you something, 9 years, I'm not going nowhere. If I've given the church 9 years of my life, you know how hard it is to start over somewhere. If you've been somewhere for 9 years, why you think you have people that go to these churches, they've been in the church their whole lives? Because it's hard to start over. And I don't think you should have to. And I'm not siding with her because she's my friend. I'm just saying, I think the pastor was wrong. And I think that, because I'm sure that there's somebody above the pastor, because this is not his church. He's a pastor that they hired on. There is somebody else that should have made the decision. Like, well, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? And that's like, I would have clowned, and I would have told the pastor to kiss both sides of my ass. I'm not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? You tell me where I've broken a rule, where I've done anything. You're going off of what somebody is saying. Somebody that's probably, he treated her not so nicely. You know what I'm saying? So now he didn't want to have to sit and look at her now because he's treated her this way. You know what I'm saying? And she's completely fine with being handled a little rough and things didn't work out and move on. But you want to be thrown out the church that you've been in for 9 years? I'm not going nowhere. There would be no way. And I just think that, this pastor was wrong. He should have sat down with her and talked with her instead of just kind of, he didn't call her. As a matter of fact, he texted it to her and said, hey, I spoke to such and such. He told me that you're making him uncomfortable. We're going to have to ask you to leave the church. I wouldn't even care what kind of deacon he is at the church. That's not good enough. Like, no. And the more she told me the story, the more pissed off I got. And I understand that I'm not the most religious person and I don't know the ins and outs of church in the last few years because I haven't been going. But I tell you one thing, the pastor could have handled that situation much, much better. This deacon is he's a typical person. Like, if I've done something to somebody, I want to sit and look at them all day. You know what I'm saying? While I'm at church. And especially if he's trying to date somebody else, he definitely doesn't want her interfering. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is the main reason why I don't attend church.